And in that context, everybody is attacking her over everything, and they're lying about her. And it's one of the most disgraceful things that I've ever seen in public life.
Why is Charlie Kirk's back turned? That's weird. There is no turning point without Charlie Kirk. I think we can all agree with that. So why do you have your husband on this post with his back turned? We can't even see his face.
What the hell is going on at TPUSA? By now, you've probably heard that out of nowhere, Erika Kirk failed to show up at a major high-profile event. And according to the official explanation, it was because of a very serious threat to her life.
Just in the past few minutes, Turning Point USA CEO Erika Kirk canceled a planned appearance at today's event in Georgia after receiving what organizers called very serious threats.
Of course, that immediately raised all kinds of questions, but the strangest part of this whole situation was the presence of Vice President J.D. Vance, who was the chief guest at the event.
She has received a lot of attacks. From surprising places, perhaps. Tell us what you think about that. Some of the people that have made, part-time jobs out of attacking Erika, and this is the net result.
Sure. Well, first of all, I love Erika, and I know that she did get some threats. And, about 2 hours ago, as you know, Andrew, I was a little worried that we were going to have to cancel the event because Erika was not going to come, and she was very worried about it. And I talked to the Secret Service, and obviously these guys do a very good job. And I said, you know what? Let's let Erika do what she needs to do for herself and her family. I'm sure Andrew will fill in. And let's go and make this an amazing event with the Georgia Bulldogs in Athens, Georgia. So absolutely, we're going to do this thing.
As you just heard, the vice president clearly seemed to think it was safe enough for him to attend, and that opened a whole other can of worms. People immediately started asking the obvious question: if there was a credible threat serious enough to keep Erika Kirk away, why was the vice president still allowed to attend?
It's being reported that Erika Kirk had to drop out of her highly anticipated TPUSA event with Vice President J.D. Vance because she was receiving very serious threats. So let me get this straight. It's safe enough in the arena for the Vice President of the United States to attend, but not for Erika Kirk?
Now, Erika Kirk was quick to explain exactly what happened.
With our vice president, but after all our family's been through, I take my security team's recommendations extremely seriously. Thank you to our amazing Georgia chapter for your support. God bless you all.
Some people immediately said it was the right decision for her not to attend, but not everyone was buying that explanation.
Yesterday, Erika no-showed an event, last minute, an event featuring the Vice President of the United States. How disrespectful. Well, not as disrespectful as the excuse that they are currently handing us as to why.
Candace Owens and many others quickly started saying she may have bailed because of poor ticket sales. And honestly, that claim starts to hold some weight when you look at the videos from the venue.
It doesn't bother me when he speaks on issues of the day, frankly, even when I disagree with how he's applying particular principles. So the most obvious example is,
I think Andrew and Blake in the podcast that they have at TPUSA is amazing.
So we had over 2,000 people there, massive energy, great enthusiasm from the attendees. But and this happens, the left-wing groups swarm the ticketing and they try and book up all the tickets and then they don't show. And that's one of their forms of protest. Normally we're pretty good at sniffing it out, but they use some new means and activities. And so we're working with our ticketing systems to adjust for that moving forward.
The arena looked mostly empty, which is pretty shocking considering the kind of reception J.D. Vance received just a few months ago. Now, speaking of Vance, he has already been under scrutiny for his previous interactions with Erika Kirk.
I want you all to take a look at the way they're very strategic with the way they posted this. And I don't believe any of this is a coincidence, especially with all of the quote unquote rumors and a lot of the things that have been pushed about Erika. Look at the way that they did this. First and foremost, why did they use this photo of Erika? That's very interesting to me. Also, behind Erika is Charlie Kirk. Why is Charlie Kirk's back turned? That's weird. There is no turning point without Charlie Kirk. I think we can all agree with that. So why do you have your husband on this post with his back turned? We can't even see his face.
And he came under fire once again after saying he loves Erika Kirk and telling people to stop going after her.
Well, first of all, I love Erika, and I know that she did get some threats. Well, most of us cannot even put ourselves in her shoes, while at the same time, she's trying to make sure that Charlie's legacy doesn't die. And in that context, everybody is attacking her over everything, and they're lying about her, and it's one of the most disgraceful things that I've ever seen in public life. And I've heard some people say, well, Erika was smiling 2 days after Charlie Kirk died or something like that. And it's like, most of us in this room have grieved somebody that we loved. Maybe, hopefully not a spouse who dies in the prime of their life, but when you deal with somebody who's grieving, it's always this weird combination of emotions. It's intense sadness, intense affection. It's, you sort of love that person in that moment, maybe more than you ever have because you feel their absence. You think about all the happy moments that you had and you can't help but smile. And then you remember they're not there and you can't help but sob. That's what grief is like.
There was nothing he was putting off. There was nothing that was too hard or too painful or nothing that he just felt like he didn't want to do it. He left this world without regrets. He did 100% of what he could every day. But I want you to know something. Charlie died with incomplete work, but not with unfinished business. But I will miss him. I will miss him so much because our marriage and our family were beautiful. And they still are.
In the words of my husband, buckle up, because there is a lot of content to be had, and we have so many amazing things down the pipeline that we are working on currently that will
unveil in due time.
I am so excited.
Yeah.
Now, the small crowd at this event is not exactly surprising. We've already talked in previous videos about how many members inside TPUSA are not happy with the organization under Erika Kirk. And then there are others complaining that they no longer even get a chance to speak at these events.
If you could say something to Erika Kirk right now, what would you tell her?
Stop.
I would say that I am disappointed in how her organization now, Turning Point, is handling freedom of speech. Because one thing that I did really respect about Charlie Kirk was the fact that he did value freedom of speech. And he did go and he talked to people that he disagreed with. And that is something that just seems to be partially lost. And, with this event, I've talked about it some, but just to clarify even more, the people that went before me in the Q&A, they were part of the event themselves. And they were designated those spots in line for the Q&A as well. At least 3 out of 4 of them. I'm not positive on the fourth, but at least 3 out of 4 of them. And so they're designating the spots. And also at least half of them were not GW students either.
Whatever the reason may be, the dwindling crowd paints a very different picture of TPUSA and its reach. And that's why it will be very interesting to see what kind of reception the president gets when he attends the TPUSA event in Phoenix on Friday.
Tomorrow afternoon, President Trump will travel to Las Vegas, Nevada to hold a roundtable and deliver remarks on the working families tax cuts. On Friday, President Trump will travel to Phoenix, Arizona to deliver remarks at a Turning Point USA event at Dream City Church.
Now, since we're already looking at a White House press briefing, let me show you something very interesting from that briefing.
There are now 10 American scientists who have either gone missing or died since mid-2024. They all reportedly had access to classified nuclear or aerospace material. Is anybody investigating this to see if these things are connected?
I've seen the report, Peter. I haven't spoken to our relevant agencies about it. I will certainly do that and we'll get you an answer. If true, of course, that's definitely something I think this government and administration would deem worth looking into. So let me do that for you.
So the number is now up to 10. And as you can see, some reporters are directly asking the White House about these disappearances. But here's the problem. If these disappearances were legitimate, the FBI would likely already be investigating them, and the people at the White House would almost certainly know about them. But Caroline says she hasn't heard anything. So either these disappearances are part of some larger plan, or they're just another distraction tactic from the legacy media. In the meantime, let's talk about the FEMA official who says he can teleport. The president was apparently pressed about those claims, and it looks like he quietly sidelined the guy before things got out of hand.
When asked to explain this and several other examples, Phillips said these experiences happened while undergoing treatment for metastatic bone cancer, and he was heavily medicated on a self-prescribed experimental regimen. Despite this, Phillips stands by his teleportation, saying, quote, "Haters gonna hate." In a brief interview with CNN, the president commented on the, sorry, this is like the wildest Mad Libs of words putting together. He commented on the controversy, asking, quote, "What does teleport mean? Was he kidding?" After being told that Phillips was, in fact, not kidding, Trump responded, "I don't know anything about teleporting. It just sounds a little strange, but I know nothing about teleporting or him, but I'll find out about it right now." According to a source familiar with the situation, since CNN's reporting, Phillips has been quietly sidelined from parts of FEMA's operation, pulled from a scheduled Capitol Hill hearing, and directed to stop posting about teleporting on Truth Social. People close to Phillips say he has grown agitated and suspicious that Trump officials are working against him because of his comments. Many of those same officials say that in spite of these questionable claims, Phillips is actually doing a pretty good job at FEMA.
Now, speaking of FEMA, this reminds me of the recent hearing about the Camp Mystic disaster. The camp is now being sued by the parents of children who died or went missing. And during those hearings, the camp director admitted they simply did not have basic warning systems in place.
How much does tuition cost at your camp for one camper?
For last summer?
Yes, sir.
I don't know the number off the top of my head.
7,000?
It was about 7,000, yes, sir.
Okay. So for the cost of 1/3 or less tuition for one camper, you could have put a NOAA weather-powered radio in every cabin, correct?
Yes, sir.
And your camp has a prohibition on use of digital communication devices, but that's not a digital communication device, is it?
No, it's not.
Okay. And for another $100 or so a cabin, you could have had a walkie-talkie in every cabin, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So now we're under about $3,000. For less than half of the cost of tuition, you could have put a non-digital walkie-talkie that didn't allow communication with anybody but your office in every cabin, correct?
Yes, sir.
In addition to the NOAA radio, correct?
Yes, sir.
And since those are battery powered, it wouldn't have mattered if the power had failed, correct?
Yes, sir.
It would have allowed you, your father, or anyone else who bothered to help that night to have instant communication to all of those children, correct?
Yes, sir.
You had none of those, correct?
We did not have those in the cabins.
Look, it's absolutely crazy that a camp charging $7,000 in tuition did not even have weather radios. But let's also not forget that for some reason, Kerrville itself did not have emergency sirens.
After the Kirk County judge told reporters yesterday there was no warning system in place, KXAN Investigates checked and found no local, state, or federal requirement for outdoor sirens. And cities that use outdoor warning systems like this have touted them as vital for emergency preparedness, while the National Weather Service sent out warnings and the city of Kerrville's Facebook page told residents to move to higher ground. A copy of Camp Mystic's rule shows cell phones, smartwatches, iPads, or anything with Wi-Fi capability were not allowed. One woman whose friend's children attended Camp Mystic says loud sirens can make a difference.
5 to 10 minutes and those girls, and the counselors would have led them uphill. And then I don't believe that we'd be in this scenario right now where we're searching for those girls.
And what's even crazier is that even after such a heartbreaking disaster, local officials still do not believe every city needs those sirens.
When there's a threat of severe weather, effective warning sirens, as we know, can really save lives. But the CBS News Texas I-Team uncovered a really surprising truth. Many Texas cities, including some of the largest, do not have any outdoor warning sirens, and some say they found something better.
I think sirens are probably the best answer for a lot of communities.
Just not for her city.
You know, Austin is a tech town. A lot of tech savvy folks here, right? And so we think that this will be effective because most people do have a device in their hands.